If you're going to Celtic Park, then why not visit the Paradise Bar, where you can find live music before every game. The friendly staff will serve you your favourite tipple at competitive prices. So get yourself along to the Paradise Bar, 65 Tollcross Road, just down from Parkhead Cross and 2 minutes from the stadium. Free function hire is also available. The Paradise Bar. Cheers.
Hi, I'm Billy Noel. Welcome to Desert Island Tim's. My guest today is John O'Farrell from Celtic Canvas Art. John, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Billy. Good. Feeling good.
Good stuff, John. Right, what was life like for you growing up?
It was fantastic, Billy. I had a great childhood. Thoroughly enjoyed my time growing up. I grew up in a place called Springhall, down in Rutherglen. I was actually born in St Francis's nursing home in Govan with nuns. So I had a good wee introduction to life, you could say. Stayed in Springhall up till I was 10 years of age. Council masonette. There was 4As in a row in the bottom and 4As up the top, and the usual stuff, the clothes to get up and down and all that sort of stuff. Plenty to do. Fields, parks, football parks, constantly playing football. I can remember I had an old neighbour that ran about us to do, you know. She used to say, you know, you were born with a ball under your arm, you know, so there was a lot of football involved early doors, and it was good. Didn't have loads of spare cash around, you know. Holidays were few and far between. The odd week in Blackpool here and there. Certainly know what my wee boy gets, you know, now. He's never out the house, and I was never in the house, you know. That was kind of how it went. Getting in for school the last day of school, the summer holidays, and throwing your bag in, putting your football strip on, and it seemed like you didn't come home for 6 weeks, you know what I mean. I was actually thinking about it the other day. There was a good wee group age, you know, 5 or 6s. We just all fit with daft and we would disappear everywhere, you know. We had this thing where we wouldn't even get in for our dinner. We would all get our chips out the chip pan, put in a plastic bag, and we'd all get back out with them, you know. That was kind of a world of a difference for what goes on these days, you know what I mean.
Do that
now. No, not at all. It was really good. No complaints about how I was brought up quite well, you know what I mean. My mum and dad, I've got a sister Anne-Marie as well, and we moved up to Blantyre when I was 9-10 year old, up to Priory Bridge in Blantyre, and kind of same thing there, just in about it. A good group of guys that I ran about with, you know, and still pals. We most of them today, you know, and again that's unusual, you know, to have pals for that long. Just continued much in the same vein. Always going to the football as well, you know what I mean. That was always a big part of my life, and just done the usual stuff, you know what I mean. Growing up, growing teenage years, getting into music, and you know, eventually pubs and clubs and all that sort of stuff. So no complaints about my early childhood, should you say.
Excellent. So that takes us to your first song. What would that be?
My first song's for my favourite band, in my eyes, of the best band in the history of bands, and it's by the Stone Roses, and it's called Where Angels Play.
Come with me to a place no eyes have ever seen, a million miles from here where no one's ever been. God-given grace and a holy heaven face. I'm on the edge of something shattering. I'm coming okay, let's fly, she says. This carpet's made for turn. This ugly little box, no place for me and you. Our carpet falls on a dew fresh apple blade. Take a look around, there's something happening. All the colours fade.
that was Stone Roses, Where Angels Play. Can you tell us a wee bit more about Celtic Canvas Art?
Certainly, Billy. How long have we got here? This could take a while.
That's fine.
A whole show to itself. For a start, it's not my real job. I'm actually an engineer to trade. I served my time as a toolmaker. Worked in that for many, many years in East Kilbride. I kept going at that and went back to uni and done a degree and stuff in engineering management and moved to my current employer where I'm an account manager. So that's the boring stuff. Celtic Canvas Art, as I touched on earlier, just happened completely by accident. It's weird how it's all worked out, you know. It started all a bit completely by accident, actually. My uncle had passed away some time ago, about a year and a half ago, and he was a fantastic artist, total genius. If truth be told, you know, maybe I'm a wee bit biased, but I take my hat off to these guys that are real artists and can paint, you know, that's real talent. Maybe I cheat a wee bit, I don't know. And it was just an idea I had to recreate his paintings, you know, just in his memory and stuff like that. I was left with all these wonderful paintings, and you know, he did sell a bit here and there, and there was just wee things that had to be dealt with, and I just started researching how to go about reproducing his artwork, you know, and between one thing and another I've always collected old Celtic memorabilia, and I've got loads of signed pictures and all that sort of stuff, old scarves, strips, badges, just into all that kind of thing. And while I was kind of waiting in his files and stuff like that, and at times it had to be left alone, and you know, for different reasons, and we had to go back and visit it and stuff like that. I just kind of started messing about with old Celtic pictures, and I went away and bought a big, huge, massive printer that resides in my spare room now. And I've got a wee workshop out in my garage, and tried a few things with images, and his paintings were really, really big, you know, some 5-6 foot high. I don't do things with halves, Billy. Being the norm isn't really my thing, you know. I've always got to try and do things a wee bit better, and so that was the idea with the big printer, and I just researched things for ages, you know, because I'm an engineer. I'm always interested in finding things out, you know. If somebody tells me I can't do something, I'll go and find out how to do it, you know. I've got that wee bit about me. Eventually started putting one or two out on Twitter. I was John O'Farrell on Twitter in December with 80 Twitter followers. I went on for the usual stuff, podcasts, the fitness stuff, blogs, all that kind of thing. With 80 Twitter followers, and put a couple on just to see, you know, messed about with old bits of wood in my garage and stuff like that. Bought canvas, tried a few things, picked wee bits up as I went along, and put a couple out on Twitter, and it just snowballed. You know, and Celtic Canvas Art is now away in a tangent, and here I am on Desert Island Thames with about 30 prints behind me, different designs, and I've had loads of help with it for different people, and tons of encouragement as well, you know what I mean. It's been sensational, mad story, you know, from where it started to where it's ended up, and it's been a pure roller coaster, you know, and I made loads and loads of mistakes at the start, you know what I mean, and that's been the funniest thing about it, you know. There's been times when I felt like chucking it, and then I'll pick back up on it again, and I'll try something different, and as I say, I've had loads of encouragement for people, and the mad stuff I've get involved in as well, you know what I mean. As I touched on earlier with you a wee bit, I was just kind of, I've got 2,500 Twitter followers now. That's kind of, I'm not saying that to be the big I am, but that freaks me out a wee bit, you know what I mean. And you know, people come to the house to pick them up, and they'll come in, and half an hour later, they'll still be sitting there, and we'll be sitting. That's brilliant. That's been the best thing about it, and getting involved in wee different things, you know what I mean. As I get more into it, I found that I just kept looking up things, researching things, trying different things, and people have been coming to me and asked me to get involved in different things, and a good friend of mine runs a kind of production company called Sweet for Addicts, and he was doing a play a wee while back, and I was just getting into the big wall murals and stuff like that, and he asked me to get involved in something, you know, with a play he was doing, and it turned out that it was Phil McGillivan that had wrote the play, and it had toured the west coast of Ireland in something called black box style, which means there's no props or set or anything, and it's funny, we went into the shed where it was, and he showed me the setup and stuff like that, and he says, well, just fling some of your stuff out. It was like an old clothes rail. By the time I get back to Blantyre, I had a set designed in my head. That was me with this head I've got that goes away in mad tangents sometimes, and before we knew it, with a set built, and you know, 2 different pub scenes, and I built it all in my driveway and in my garage, you know, and it was dead interesting just mad stuff like that happening, you know, and getting involved in different things like that, and it's been a really good wee journey, you know what I mean, and it's ended up with a wee stand down at the Forge Market. And the good thing about that is as well, people are getting to come in and see how they're built, how they're made, and people coming in with ideas as well. People come to me with ideas. That wasn't meant to happen, you know. I just started off with some old pictures and learned about, you know, remastering them and stuff like that, and making them so that I can get them to, you know, 5.5 foot high, you know, that sort of stuff. And as I say, a bit of tragedy has came this, you know what I mean. So it's been really, really good, and I hope it continues like that, you know, and getting the chance to meet Celtic fans that I've never met before, and sitting down, as I say, they come to the house and an hour later they're still sitting there and we're talking about all sorts of stuff. You know, people phoning me and asking me to get involved in things. I get involved in a lot of, you know, I donate. I've probably given many of this stuff away than I've sold, but that's a good thing as well, you know. I like donating certain things to certain good causes, and that kind of side of things has culminated in me acquiring a replica European Cup, which I've took down to the Forge, and people are coming and donating money, and the money's gone to Glasgow East Food Bank as well. So I just started that at the weekend. I got this big cup and I didn't know what to do with it, but I had a wee idea in my head, you know, what can I do, you know, for a charity aspect, especially in the run up to Christmas, and especially with the, you know, the current situation with what's going on in this country, you know, in terms of in that side of things. So I just thought, right, let's give this a wee go, and the response has been pretty good, you know what I mean. So I'm going to continue that down there and see where we go. So it's just been no many negatives, you know, apart from long hours. Obviously I work full time, and this is still a kind of spare time thing, you know what I mean, but it's slowly but surely taking over my life, you know. It's been great, and long may it continue.
Excellent. So people, get yourself down to the Forge and have a wee look. Your next song, what would that be?
The second song is by The Doors, and it's called Peace Frog. I've never actually been a big Doors fan, but I invested in one album while I was going to college with a guy alongside college, and he was Jim Morrison Daft, and I was never into there. There was a whole wave of Pink Floyd and The Doors stuff happening at the time when I was at college, and I was never ever into them, but I bought this one album and his say so, and this is a great song off it, so it's Peace Frog by The Doors.
Dead blood in the streets, it's up to my ankles. Sheet blood in the streets, it's up to my knees. Sheet blood in the street, the town of Chicago. Sheet blood on the rise, it's following me. Sheet about to break the day. She came in and she drove away. Sunlight in her hair. She blood in the streets on the river of sadness. She blood in the streets, it's up to my thigh. Yeah, the river is red down the legs of the city. No women are crying when rivers are weeping. She came to town and then she drove away. Sunlight in her hair. Indians scattered on Dawn's highway bleeding. Ghosts crowd the young child's fragile eggshell mind. Blood in the streets in the town of New Haven. Blood stains the roofs and the palm trees of Venice. Blood in my love in the terrible summer. Bloody red sun of fantastic LA. Blood screens the brain and chop off the fingers. Blood will be born in the birth of a nation. Blood is the rose of mysterious union. Dead blood in the streets, it's up to my ankles. Blood in the streets, it's up to my knees.
Peace Frog, The Doors. Who are your influences and heroes?
Influences in my life, probably the obvious ones. My father, quite easy kind of normal ones, I suppose. I suppose I didn't really realise how much of an influence that he was in my life till my own son came into my life, you know. Just how, you know, the relationship I've got with him. My father died when I was 15, so I suppose I missed out a big bit of his life, you know, and he missed out on a big bit of mine. I suppose as you're growing up, you know, your teenage years, and you know, between the age of 15 and now, or until my son came into my life, you know, I didn't really think about that kind of thing. But as I say, when I watch how I'm with Jude, and I just look at the relationship I've got with him, and I think I just see the two of us doing wee things, you know, and it just kind of takes me back about, you know, how much time I put out for him. And my father was obviously an influence in that part of my life, you know what I mean. So definitely an influence. Hard worker as well. Another influence in my life, Billy, would have to be my Uncle Eddie. Now that I've went all arty, as I say, as a result of what happened, you know, with him, that's how this kind of all started. And as I say, the guy was a genius, with a brush and some paint. And as I say, he continue with his stuff. I wanted to do it right, you know. I wanted to put my all into it. I wasn't wanting to settle for second best with it, and that's how it's kind of panned out. I just wanted to do my best with it and follow, you know, the skill that he had. Obviously, I'm cheating a wee bit, and it's all kind of digital stuff and all graphics and stuff like that. But in the same vein, you know, putting these things together, I looked at all the stuff that he had done and wanted to make it as good as what he was doing. So yeah. He would definitely be another influence, and especially what I'm doing just now, you know. So aye, my Uncle Eddie. In a Celtic sense, the guy that took me to my first Celtic game, my Uncle Golly, James Donnelly. It's his fault I'm a Celtic fan, I suppose, you know. I think I was age of 7 or something. My dad had a bad accident, and I'd always heard about my Uncle Golly. Again, Celtic daft, and he came down to the house to visit my dad, and he came into my room, and I had just everything all there was. I used to do this mad thing where I wouldn't put posters up. I would cut, you know, the outline of the player out of a poster or out of the paper, and I would just have millions of these all in the room. Bit weird, but so what? and he came in and he started just talking to me about Celtic and stuff like that, and obviously I was annoying him because he knew everything about Celtic. He said, you fancy going to a game? And I was like, wow. And away we went to the first game. So that's when the kind of love affair started, I suppose, with Celtic. So he was a big influence in my life. He was one of the kind of elder Celtic fans that he just had this thing about him, made an aura about him, you know. And heroes, it feels a bit weird talking about heroes when you're 40. In my book, you shouldn't really have heroes by the age of 15, you know. My first Celtic hero was Charlie Nicholas. Right. And I mean in an obsessive kind of way, you know what I mean. It was a wee bit worrying at times, I think, for my parents, how daft I was. And Charlie Nicholas, absolutely adored the guy. Just followed him about every waited outside the ground for his autograph and all that. Just mad stuff, really. And my uncle, who was into the artwork in the sports shop in the town, and he used to always get me the strips as they were coming out, and he knew certain players and stuff like that, and he would get Charlie Nicholas to sign them. And I had everything to do with Charlie Nicholas, you know. And I was really devastated when he went to Arsenal. It crippled me really badly. I suppose you could describe me as a bit like, you know, a Sevco fan that still pretends that the club didn't die, you know, that sort of stuff. Because I can remember seeing him in an Arsenal strip for the first time, and I was in total denial that he'd even left Celtic, you know. That was how bad it had got. So he was my first hero, really, you know, Billy. And I've held many Celtic players in high regard since, but I suppose as a real hero growing up, you know, and he was probably the biggest hero that I ever had, you know, and it just wasn't the same when he come back, you know. No, it wasn't. But The only other kind of hero I had as a teenager and stuff like that would have been Ian Brown for Stone Roses. I was a bit obsessive about him as well, you know what I mean? Seen him at Glasgow Green when I was a young boy, and seen him again at Glasgow Green there, so he would have been my other hero if I had to pick one, you know.
Okay, that takes us to your third song.
And song 3 is by Primal Scream, another band that I did really get into and I still listen a lot to, and the song is Don't Fight It, Feel It.
Right, John, what are your earliest memories of going to Celtic Park?
My first game, I think it was in season 1980-81. I was 6, 7 at the time. It was a 1-each draw with Airdrie.
Right.
Charlie Nicholas scored a penalty. Can't remember anything about it. I was just awestruck, overwhelmed with my uncle taking me to my first game. I can remember we used to park in, I think it was in Springfield Road. There was a wee old school as you come up for Farm Cross, and it got knocked down many years ago. It was a kind of sandstone building. I can remember it very, very clearly. We parked in it every week. It had a wee kind of driveway round about it, and you went down, into it. And I can remember walking up to it. There wasn't a big crowd that day. I had to look this up years and years later because I could never remember it. I can remember there wasn't that big a crowd, and I was just overwhelmed with the whole day, and just that excited. Because when I was growing up as well, as I say, there wasn't an abundance of money about. I was very fortunate. I used to love going into school on a Monday because I would be surrounded. Nobody really went to the football then. Nobody that age went to the football then, and there was only, I think it was only me really in the class that was getting took to the football, and Mondays were great because I was a superstar. I got to tell people about the game and stuff like that, and never missed a game. Went home and away everywhere. My Uncle Golly, the wee green Skoda. It was brilliant. It went everywhere. Aberdeen, Kilmarnock. It was great. I had some fantastic memories of following Celtic then. But as I say, I was kind of young. I suppose the first biggest, earliest memory I had of Celtic was the night we beat Sporting Lisbon 5-0. That night just blew me away. I'd been to a European tie before that, but that just sticks out in my memory what happened that night. I think they were leading 2-0 for the first leg or something. I really got the bug by then. Something happens to you when you get down there. You just get that something, and I can remember getting in that night and knew something special was going to happen, and it was a wonderful early memory, and I've had many more since, and it's I've got loads and loads of memories, but in terms of the earliest ones, they stick out, it just kind of went on for there. The love grew, so that's my earliest memory, following Celtic.
Fantastic. That takes us on to your fourth song.
We're into a bit of a techno section here, Billy. Primal Screaming. Next song's by The Orb. Again, I obviously grew up through the 90s and stuff like that, and if you weren't right into your dance music and that kind of thing during then you were on another planet. So it's by The Orb, and it's Little Fluffy Clouds.
What were the skies like when you were young?
They went on forever. We lived in Arizona, and the skies always had little fluffy clouds in them, and they were long and clear, and there were lots of stars at night. And when it would rain, it would all turn. They were beautiful, the most beautiful skies, as a matter of fact. The sunsets were purple and red and yellow and on fire, and the clouds would catch the colors everywhere. That's neat, because I used to look at them all the time when I was little. You don't see that. the skies always had little fluffy clouds in them, and they were long and clear, and there were lots of stars at night. And when it would rain, it would all turn. They were beautiful, the most beautiful skies, as a matter of fact. The sunsets were purple and red and yellow and on fire, and the clouds would catch the colors everywhere. That's it neat, because I used to look at them all the time when I was young. You don't see that. You might still see them in the desert.
If you're going to Celtic Park, then why not visit the Paradise Bar, where you can find live music before every game. The friendly staff will serve you your favourite tipple at competitive prices. So get yourself along to the Paradise Bar, 65 Tollcross Road, just down from Parkhead Cross and 2 minutes from the stadium. Free function hire is also available. The Paradise Bar. Cheers.
Right, John. What irritates you?
Not too much. No, I'm quite a positive person. Well, I really am quite a positive person, you know what I mean? I've not really got time for negativity. Negativity irritates me to death. I don't mean that in a people that, you know, suffer from mental health issues or anything like that, or depression. I mean that people that are negative just for the sake of being negative, you know. I find myself surrounded with them at times, and they just irritate the life at me. People that have got a lot in life, you know, they don't know what it's really like to get through crap times, and just negative for being the sake of being negative, you know, everything's shit. I find myself in people's company sometimes that are like that, and I'm like, I've had enough of this and I don't last, you know. I just remove myself from the situation because it disturbs me, you know. So negative people irritate me. Yeah, negativity irritates me, like most other Celtic supporters out there now. You know, the current situation, there's a real feeling of a missed opportunity out there now with, you know, with the situation we find ourselves in. Obviously, you know, the Rotten Mob are a long time dead, and it's simple stuff. If there was any kind of intelligence down there, you know, 3 years ago you're sitting there with an open goal that you can't miss. You know, do certain things, put certain things in place, and you're away out of sight for good, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I kind of argue the point, you know, with some of my pals and stuff like that, because a few people come in and have says to me in the last 2 to 3 months, hope we don't get them in the cup, all that sort of stuff. I don't necessarily agree with that because they are really poor, but I can understand why they're saying that kind of thing. You know, 3 years later, whatever it is, you know, we could have put youth in place, spent wisely, all the obvious stuff. By the way, nothing. I'm not saying anything that anybody else hasn't really thought about, but that kind of irritates me a wee bit now, and I don't think I'm alone in that. You know, so and people that leave tellies on. I wasn't sure if I was going to throw that in there, but I've got this thing about people that leave tellies on, especially, and I think they just stay in my house to annoy me, you know. And if people that know me in my life listens to this, she'll be getting off her head, you know what I mean? Because I'm not the most organised of people. I'm in the house, I'm dead lazy, you know what I mean? I leave lights on everywhere. Every light in the house gets left on, but don't leave a telly on. You know, I come in for work at night, and I think there's 4 tellies in my house. Invariably 3 or 4 of them can be on, and the radio as well, you know, in the kitchen, and it just drives me nuts, you know. So I suppose I'm as irritating as anybody, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. Aye, don't leave your telly on.
Right, your 5th song.
My 5th song is by another band that, you know, I was quite into in my youth, and as I say, it kind of in the theme of the songs I've picked. It's by the Arctic Monkeys, and it's called When the Sun Goes Down.
I said, who's that girl there? I wonder what went wrong so that she had to roam the streets. She doesn't do major credit cards, I doubt she does receipts. It's all not quite legitimate. And what a scummy man.
Just give him half a chance, I bet he'll rob you if he can. Can see it in his eyes, yeah, that he's got a driving ban amongst some other offences. And I've seen him with girls of the night, and he told Roxanne to put on her red light. They're all infected, but he'll be alright, 'cause he's a scumbag, don't you know? I said he's a scumbag, don't you know? Although you're trying not to listen, I bet your eyes are staring at the ground. She makes a subtle proposition. I'm sorry, love, I'll have to turn you down. Oh, we must be up to summer. What are the chances? Sure, it's more than likely. I've got a feeling in my stomach. I start to wonder what his story might be, what his story might be. Yeah, 'cause they said it changes when the sun goes down. Yeah, they said it changes when the sun goes down. And they said it changes when the sun goes down. Around here, around here. Oh. Look, here comes the portmanteau. Isn't he Mr. Inconspicuous? And he don't even have to say oh. She's in the stands ready to get picked up. Bet she's delighted when she sees him, pulling in and giving her the eye, because she must be fucking freezing, scantily clad beneath the clear night sky. It does stop in the winter now, and they said it changes when the sun goes down. Yeah, they said it changes when the sun goes down. And they said it changes when the sun goes down. Around here, they said it changes when the sun goes down. Over the river going out of town. And they said it changes when the sun goes down. Around here, around here. Oh. And what a scummy man. Just give him half a chance, I bet he'll rob you if he can. And see it in his eyes, yeah, that he's got a nasty plan. I hope you're not involved at all.
How do you relax?
That's quite a tough one. I don't really. I don't really get time to relax, Billy. Used to be really good at it. I was the laziest person I knew, you know what I mean? I love just lying about, but I'm quite busy with my real job, if you like. And obviously in the last year, this wee thing that started with a couple of images is snowballed, so I don't... Well, do you know how I relax? I've got a wee workshop out in the garage. I get there and build prints, and I stick my wee speaker on and I listen to podcasts, I listen to guys like yourself, and that's what's fantastic about, you know, this new wave of social media and all the kind of stuff that you guys are doing. I listen to a lot of that and to relax and quite sadly build prints and mess about out in the garage and just try and build this up a wee bit. Family time, you know, the obvious stuff, you know, that's quite important. They've probably missed out on a wee bit of that in the last year, you know, because I get into things, I become dead obsessive about them, you know, and if something's beating me, I keep banging the drum till I get it right, you know, and so I need to keep that in check as well, you know what I mean, because that's quite important. I actually need to start watching more football and going to more football, because I've not had a lot of chance to do that. I've got 2 season tickets, me and my wee boy go, and I love that, you know what I mean, just me and him time and that sort of stuff, so I need to kind of get back into that a wee bit, you know, and but that's pretty much how I relax, Billy.
Oh, fantastic. Right, your 6th song.
Song number 6 is by the Libertines, and it's Can't Stand Me Now.
waiting for the start. You twisted and tore our love apart. Your light fingers through the dark shattered the lamp into darkness. It cast us all. No, you've got it the wrong way round. You shut me up and blamed it on the brown. Cornered the boy, kicked out of the world kicked back a lot fucking harder now. If you wanna try, there's no worse you could do. I know you lie, I'm still in love with you. Can't take me anywhere, I'll take you anywhere. You can't take me anywhere, I can't take you anywhere. I'll take you anywhere you wanna go. Oh, you can't stand me, no, you can't stand me, no. You can't stand me, no, you can't stand me, no. You can't stand me, no, you can't stand me, no. You can't stand me, no. You can't stand me, no. Have we enough to keep it together? Or do we just keep on pretending and hope our luck is never ending? Or you tried to pull the wool, I wasn't feeling too clever. And you take all that lending until you need an ending. If you wanna try, there's no worse you could do. I know you lie, all you do is make me cry. And all those words, they ain't true. Can't take me anywhere, I can't take you anywhere. Can't take me anywhere, I won't take you anywhere. I'll take you anywhere you wanna go. Oh, you can't stand me, no, you can't stand me, no. You can't stand me, no, you can't stand me, no. You can't stand me, no, you can't stand me, no. You can't stand me, no, you can't stand me, no. 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 Can't stand me now.
The Libertines, Can't Stand Me Now. So what does the future hold for you?
I've no idea, Billy. And to be quite honest with you, I don't really concern myself too much with it. You know, I've always been one of these people that's tried to plan my future out. You know, I'm going to be doing this next year. I'm going to be here, I'm going to be there. If I do this, that will happen. I used to live my life like that. I tend not to now, and it's probably as a result of, you know, doing the image stuff. And like being on here, I didn't know this was going to happen. I had this week planned out in my head, and I try and plan things out, and there's always something different happens. Right. It never works out how I plan it. So I kind of live in the day. That's stood me in good stead the last wee while, you know what I mean? Living the now, because you can't do anything about tomorrow. Exactly. You know, but in saying that, how this has grew into something that's been thoroughly enjoyable and you know, personally rewarding. No, you know, in a financial sense, far from it. But as I say, the feedback, the people I've met, you know, the wee journey I've been on, I hope it just grows.
Good stuff. So one thing you'd like to see changed in Scotland?
Given recent events, that's probably the easiest question I've had to answer all night, you know. And it's probably the obvious answer that you'll get for quite a few people, and that would be the referendum result. I was never very politically motivated like many other people, you know. Done in with it, just couldn't be annoyed with it. And I think the whole country get this thing about them, you know, and maybe the 6, 9, 12 months leading up to it, you know, especially in that final wee bit. I found myself becoming really, feeling a way I'd never felt before about Scotland. Aye. You know, I've always been a Scotland fan, you know, I always felt Scottish, but I tell you what, when I went into work 10 o'clock that Friday morning, I actually spoke to, you know, a guy in work about it, and I was like, I actually don't feel Scottish this morning. And I didn't know why. You know, I feel like an illegal alien here. That was the best way I could describe it. Thankfully, I've got that wee bit back because the momentum's up again. So for somebody like me that wasn't really into politics or anything, it just felt good in the run up to it, you know. And as I say, I'll not go on about it because people could talk for weeks about this kind of stuff, you know. So that's what I would change.
Right. If you could have a wee beer and a wee chat with anyone from history, who would it be
Probably somebody, for recent history, and as I said, I've spoke about how I grew up supporting Celtic and the team that I fell in love with, Bonner, Aiken, McGrain, McStay, McAdam, Tommy Burns, Charlie Nicholas, obviously, Frank McGarvey, that kind of team that made me fall in love with Celtic, and one guy for that would be Tommy Burns. Right. Never met him, but the more and more you seen about that guy, and as I say, I've watched loads of stuff about him, and by all accounts, a truly wonderful human being. I think people sometimes forget how fantastic a football player he was as well. What I mean? One of the most intelligent football players I've ever seen. But he just had that bit about him that I would actually like to sit and listen to the stories he had to tell, because I think he had that thing about him as well, how he came across, and I think that man would have been great company. So it would be Tommy Burns.
Excellent. Right, your favourite cartoon character?
Easy peasy, Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
I could pick one for 100, by the way, because they're all on loop, and only 4 tellies in my house. The Disney Channel daft. But it would be Scooby-Doo, because as I say, I've got into the wall murals and stuff like that, and that's really taken off. So obviously my wee boy's room has been the trial room, as they say, when I was trying different things with different images and getting them to get up onto the big walls. So he had 2 big stadium tifos on his bedroom wall, and I remember I'd done the second one, and I knew I'm onto something here, this really works, I've got this perfect. And I brought him up and I showed him it, and he just says, "Can I not get Scooby-Doo?" He had this wall in his room that every wee boy should, that I would have dreamt of when I was growing up, and that was his answer. Can I not just get Scooby-Doo? So Scooby-Doo, favourite cartoon character.
Fantastic. Right, your penultimate song?
The penultimate song is by The Verve, and it is Velvet Morning.
I still feel strong into the half-light. Another velvet morning for me. Time stands still as you take your last pill into the half-light. Another velvet morning for me, and now I'm trying to tell you about my life. My song is twisted, man, more dead than alive. My feelings they've always been betrayed. Now it's born a little damaged man. Look what they made. I said, don't you mind that it's lonely? The corridor you walk there alone, and life is a game you try, and life is a game you're tired. I'm coming down. Your beauty our colors surround
come to the part of the programme where I give you the complete works of the dandy and a copy of the Bible to take with you to your island. Would you like a copy of the Bible?
Yes, certainly, Billy. Yep, I definitely would.
Which other book would you take and why?
I don't get a great deal of time to read these days, but I do like a good read. A book I'm into now, I would probably take a book called The Four Agreements. It's a book that I kind of try and read, if no daily, then at least every other day. It kind of keeps me right. It's by a guy called Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's about 4 agreements that you try and practice in your life, and it's really good. And it's a book that I read repeatedly, so I think I would have to take that.
Excellent. A luxury. Something to make your life in Ireland a bit more bearable. And remember, it can't be another human being, and it can't be a mobile phone.
That's kind of an unanswerable question. Jeez. I don't know if I would maybe just no bother. I think I'd maybe just enjoy the peace.
Right.
Based on how hectic the last year has been. I would certainly enjoy the peace for the first wee while anyway, so just all that nothingness, that would suit me, you know. I like doing nothing every now and again, but I've not had a great chance to do it lately. If you had to force an answer at me, probably with my really sad collection of trainers. I've got a ridiculous amount of training shoes, Billy.
Right.
It's quite horrific. They're everywhere, stored away up the loft and in cupboards and under beds, and I've got a bit of an obsession with training shoes. So in fact, if you had to tell me I couldn't take any, then I wouldn't go. So if I was forced into an answer, that would be it. You know, probably not the normal answer you'll get, but there you go.
Please do elaborate with these training shoes.
I'm just a bit of a collector. That's all. All shapes and sizes, all training shoes. I collect vintage trainers as well. So, and there's loads of people out there that do it, but I kind of take it to the extreme sometimes, you know. So that would be my luxury.
Fantastic. Your final song, what would that be?
My final song is Grace by the Wolf Tones, and it's, as I say, supporting Celtic, you know, way back in the early 80s and stuff like that. Gone to the games in my uncle's old Skoda with the old tape deck, listening to the Wolf Tones and the way to the game. It was part of my Celtic experience. I'm not going to apologise for that. You know, growing up, I've always listened to their music, you know, and another guy I went to the football for Wareham Fane Blantyre, Winker Watson. This was his favourite Wolf Tone song, and I used to slag him. So that's a Wolf Tone song for all women, you know. And and you know what? As the years have went by, it's became my favourite Wolf Tone song. So thanks, Winker, and it's Grace by the Wolf Tones.
John O'Farrell, thank you very much for being a Desert Island Tim.
Thank you, Billy. It's been thoroughly enjoyable. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on.
As we gathered in the chapel here in old Kilmainham jail, I think about these past few weeks. Oh, will they say we failed from our school days? They have told us we must yearn for liberty. Yet all I want in this dark place is to have you here with me. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye. Now I know it's hard for you, my love, to ever understand the love I bear for these great men, my love for this dear land. So when Porrick called me to his side down in the GPO. I had to leave my own sick bed, to him I had to go. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye. Now as the dawn is breaking, my heart is breaking too. On this May morn, as I walk out, my thoughts will be with you. And I'll write some words upon the wall, so everyone will know I love so much that I could see his blood upon the rose. Oh, Grace, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. They'll take me out at dawn and I will die. With all my love, I'll place this wedding ring upon your finger. There won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye. Now there won't be time to share our love, so we must say goodbye.